Hey, I'm Dustin.
And I'm Steve. Welcome back to the podcast that is maybe going to happen if we don't have a million more technical difficulties that spring up along the way. Wow, this has been bad. I am so sorry to our guest, Jess Robertson
brought to you by Comcast.
from Girl with the Tattoos. Jess, how are you doing? And so sorry we wasted 30 minutes of your time troubleshooting this program.
I am kid-free. I don't care. We're good.
This is not how our show usually goes.
It's okay. Things happen.
Jess, we are so glad that you could be here with us. Tonight, we're just going to talk with Jess about her photography company and a little bit about inclusivity and rewiring your website to make LGBTQ plus people feel less excluded. Right?
Yes.
Because in
absolutely.
my show
Thanks for
notes,
having me.
I
I'm excited.
accidentally wrote down to make LGBTQ plus people feel excluded, not less excluded, and I felt terrible.
Oh, no. But at least you caught that.
At least I caught that and then publicly said it out loud anyway.
Better.
Yep.
Oh, Steven.
So, Jess, you are in Detroit, Michigan. We are recording this in March. Today, it was freezing rain all day where I am. Every single one of our trees is just covered in icicles. Ugh. What is the weather like up there?
It's heading my way. We are getting freezing rain as we speak right now. Like
yeah,
48 hours ago, I had my windows open and it was 70 degrees.
Yeah, it's been a big tease. That's why the Midwest is such a shit show when it comes to weather, because Mother Nature's like, hey guys, here's a reprieve from all of that crazy snow I gave you. I just want you to lap this in, and then oh, just kidding, freezing rain time. Hope you didn't want to bike today, or God forbid, take a picture outside.
My kids were literally outside in their bathing suits 2 days ago, and then just enough for all my Great Dane's dog poop to thaw in the backyard, and then now it's gonna freeze again.
I love all the memes, the Midwest memes, when we start to get warm weather, when it's finally hits above 40s in the Midwest, and it's people in shorts with martini glasses.
That's
and
me.
It's that's us.
I'm originally from northern Michigan, so down here, when everyone's like, oh, it's 42, we're freezing. I'm 42, flip-flops and shorts, let's go.
For reals.
My brother came over tonight and he was wearing shorts. Did you not know we're getting freezing rain tonight? He's like, and? It's not right now.
It's not freezing raining inside.
Right? And he wears flip-flops year-round. I mean, we're from Michigan. That's how it works.
That's right. It's a Michigan in your blood. It's a little thicker there.
So then when you travel from Michigan to a place that's more tropical, is it just I can't move because of the heat?
Yeah. Yes. I die. Except for I shot my best friend's wedding back in December down in St. Petersburg, and it was freezing down there. I mean, granted, it was in the 50s, but it was windy and cold, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, we're so sorry. This is the coldest it's ever been here. And we're okay, still cold, but it wasn't near up here type of cold. But yeah, when I travel south, I swell up, I'm sweating, I'm so uncomfortable. I'm cold-blooded. Can I go home now, please?
It's so weird. My wife and I were in California last February. Wow. And there were people, it got down to high 50s, low 60s. And there were people running around in winter jackets with beanies on their head and stuff. And it's just what is going on? Because I'm out in a short sleeve shirt and jeans and I feel fine.
Yep.
The human
My
body
best friend and
is
I
a
were
wonder.
in LA last March. Actually, when we landed in Detroit was the 13th of March when the shutdown happened. And when we were out there, it was rainy and it was high 50s, low 60s, and everyone was wearing parkas like we were at home. And her and I are running around in shorts and t-shirts and flip-flops. And, we rented a convertible. We had the top down. We're like, you guys are crazy. This is summer.
It was nice of you to bring the rain, though, to LA.
What was that?
It was nice of you to bring the rain to LA with you.
Oh, it was terrible. I was so mad. But then in a way, like looking back, we were like, maybe that kind of like kept us safe because that was like the outbreak of like, in the start of COVID and all of that. So we're like, maybe it was like a good thing that we couldn't go everywhere and be around big crowds, but oh well. The rain sucked. Everything flooded and our car like kept failing everywhere. It was fun, I guess.
So what keeps you in Michigan?
Family.
Family girl.
Yeah,
Makes it
my
hard.
husband's family lives in Knoxville. My family's all here in Michigan, and my two older girls are from a previous marriage. So, like, yeah, I'm here with them until they're older. So,
Gotcha.
but Michigan's not all that bad. I mean, we've got the lakes, we've got the mountains, we've got everything. We got good beer.
Great beer.
We do.
Speaking of beer, Jess, are you drinking anything tonight?
I am. I'm drinking.
Speaking of non-beer.
I know, non-beer. I drank all my Eastern Market Brewery beer, and theirs is the best beer ever. I got White Claws.
It's okay.
It's March. Summer's coming up, so diet season.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Hopefully. For me
yeah,
as well.
But Michigan's got great beer.
What flavor of White Claw is your go-to?
I'm going to be a basic white girl and go with watermelon.
Call me a basic white girl then, because that's my jam.
I'm not a basic white girl in any other shape or form, but that I am. Sadly.
I mean, I'm kind of guilty of buying one of those stupid brewmates just for White Claws so I could hide them when we go places. So that people don't know what I'm drinking.
Mm-hmm.
I forget this is on a podcast right now. People are hearing this.
Layers and layers of Dustin
messages
that we're unraveling tonight. Wow.
It's funny, like when my husband and I go out to eat, like I order a beer and he'll order a martini, and when they come deliver it, like bring it to the table, they'll like give him the beer and me the martini, and I'm like, no, here you go.
Yeah.
He likes all the fruity drinks.
Who doesn't like fruit and who doesn't like drinks? Put them together.
I like beer.
Guys.
Dustin, are you drinking a beer tonight?
I'm drinking one of my favorite beers that I won at a Christmas like gift exchange thing for our little neighborhood called Sex and Candy. I actually discovered this at a wedding.
Is that from 18th Street?
Where the groom forced me. Yeah, 18th. It's a great Indiana beer, my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Not as good as Michigan beer, but we're working on it.
We have good sours. I love sours.
See, I don't like sours.
Do you have a favorite brewery in Detroit?
Eastern Market Brewery.
Mm-hmm.
Eastern Market.
And they partner with the Ferndale Project. They are amazing. Like, not only are their beers and their seltzers amazing, but they are incredible activists and like really good with like inclusivity and really good with like empowerment of like the community and giving back. Like, oh my gosh, if you follow them on social media, it's so refreshing and inspiring to like follow them when there's, like the big movements and the protests last year or whatever, like they joined up and were like, community, tell us what we can do, what we can help with. And they like put their money where their mouth is. And it's amazing. I love those two breweries. Their beer is like par none, but just like their like activism in the community makes their beer even better. Mm-hmm. So I live about 32 minutes outside of Detroit, but like I'll drive down there just to get like a 6-pack of beer and then drive back because, like I love to support small businesses, but like they give so much back to the community and like rebuilding and everything of the city that it's worth it. They're great.
That's awesome. I love that they actually did something last year during everything, because so many companies are just like, no, we're gonna ride this one out. We're not gonna take a stand either way. So I guess screw you all,
especially in the Midwest.
Much better than
they did. They came out with a few special brews just for that, and like for the different movements and the protests and stuff like that, and all of the profits from that were given to the inner city, like different programs and different outreaches, and they're just phenomenal people.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I love working with them. So every time I'm shooting a wedding, I go down like in the Detroit Eastern Market area. I always take my couples there, or like my wedding parties there. We always get a drink, and like they're awesome. They absolutely love it. I love them. They're like, hey, we know you. Like, come on in. It's on us. I'm like, you're my favorite.
I need to get to that level with a brewery around me. Oh my gosh. Come on in. It's on us.
Right.
Those are magical words. I didn't know people who own breweries could say those words.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it could be a good or a bad thing. It's like Starbucks. You walk in, they know your order, but I go to a brewery and they're like, hey, we got this new sour. You want to try it? I'm like, oh, yeah. Sorry. I may or may not know these people.
And then they like finished up with, did you ever finish the keg that you got yesterday from us? Like, is that?
So for my couples,
should we not say that out loud?
A lot of times they will give like my couples like a free keg for their reception if it's in Detroit.
Wow.
So yeah.
Talk about a hookup. Do you how do you work that into the client consultation? Like, I'm not saying you should book me, but you may or may not get a free keg for your reception. And it's going to be it will be a sour, but
I kind of slipped that in there. I'm like, hey, if we go to Eastern Market Brewery and take pictures, we may or may not leave with some free beer. And they're like, let's go. Oh my gosh, I love them. Yes.
And I'm currently trying to book an anniversary shoot with Jess in Detroit. So
let's go. They're really cool. They got like this big garage door that opens. It's big industrial. Like it's so cool.
Oh, that sounds great.
It's one of my favorite places. And like I said, the owners and the staff there are amazing. They make it like such a super safe space and so inclusive, and they go out of their way to like make their stances known. Like they're like no other place around here.
That's awesome. So Jess, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, you how did you get your start in photography? What was the thing that caused it to be a passion spark of interest for you?
So, funny story. I was actually in school a year and a half away from graduating as a physician's assistant. Mm-hmm. And I just like wanted to get a camera. Like I had 2 little girls and was like, oh, I just want to take pictures. And my ex-husband bought me a camera because I did good in school. And then I started skipping classes, didn't go back. And we did like this Route 66 RV trip. And right before we left, I applied for like a studio and it got approved. And he saw the email and he's like, you're not going back to school, are you? And I was like, I'm not. No. And still to this day, like we're really good friends. And he's like, it was the worst, best purchase I ever made because you're actually really good at it. And I was like, thank you. So like that kind of like got me started. Nice. I dropped out of medical school to become a wedding photographer, and I wouldn't change it for the world. Even in a pandemic, I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah, that's great.
Especially.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would say the same, but I'm not smart enough to go to medical school. So
I didn't think I was either. I was homeschooled and I had to teach myself a lot of things, but I'm very, Very determined.
I feel like when it comes to medical school, homeschooled kids would probably have an advantage because they have better study habits and better self-discipline. Maybe
No. Some, not the way I was homeschooled.
some, just not me.
not the way I was homeschooled, but that's another story for another time. But I did. I had to teach myself a lot of things, overcame a lot of stuff, and then I got a camera and decided to become a photographer. And it's turned out to be very lucrative and very good.
So when you say you became a photographer, was it like took a few photos and then you're in the classic case of somebody who's like, hey, Jess, like you take pretty sweet photos. Could you do my wedding? Or was it sort of like a build up into like family, seniors, then the wedding?
So I got a camera and I took a few pictures of my kids and I posted them. And one of my friends who is a phenomenal boudoir and wedding photographer was like, hey, you've got some real talent. Would you mind, like, if I mentored you and took you under my wing and taught you like the ins and outs? And I was like, sure. So I mentored under her for about 2 years and shot so many weddings. Like back then it was like you shot for free for your portfolio. And I shot, I want to say about 150 weddings for free just to build my portfolio solid. And I did like family stuff, like for money, whatever. I didn't even touch my own weddings for 2 years. And then after that, once I felt like I had a good solid portfolio, that's when I like became a quote unquote wedding photographer. But yeah, someone close to me was like, hey, you've got talent. I want to teach you. Let me train you. Let me show you what I know. I was like, okay. The first wedding I showed up to, I had like a Nikon D80 and a 50 millimeter lens. And she was like, oh, are you shooting in JPEG or RAW? And I was like, what's that? She gave me my camera and like put it all in manual and was like, figure it out. This is how we're going to, I was like, okay. And the rest is history.
Bingo.
So, yeah.
So how stressful was that first one?
What...
Do I now know what?
Do you know what JPEG and RAW are now?
Oh, yeah. just a little bit.
Really, Dustin? That was your question?
I'm still trying to figure it out.
I don't shoot an auto anymore.
I've been guilty of it a few times.
No, I've shot one session, like I reset my camera and whatever, and then I accidentally shot in like auto and JPEG, and I got home, I'm like, what did I just do? Oh no. Thankfully it wasn't like an outdoor session, so like I was able to actually like salvage stuff, but never again. I'm so like anal about checking all my settings, like it's not gonna happen again.
What do you shoot with? Are you still on Nikon then, or?
I shoot Nikon. I shoot 750s.
Are they paying you or something?
No. I like my Nikons.
Everyone likes their Nikons until they take a feel of the Sony ponies.
That's what I keep hearing. And I was going to make the leap to switch, but then the pandemic hit. So I'm kind of just like waiting to make the switch because it's like a huge investment. So
mid-pandemic should have been when you switch, because all these camera stores probably would have been like waiting to barter. Like, we've got inventory. Oh, really? I had camera stores reaching out to me in the pandemic asking if I needed anything.
Must be nice to be on
like,
that level.
Hey, I know you're probably not shooting much right now, but in case you were thinking about upgrading, we have a lot of inventory we're looking to move.
Yeah, not here. Nope. I like my 750s and my 600s, and I work with those.
When you do go mirrorless, are
There's
you
nothing wrong with the
thinking you're going to go Sony, or are you going to stick with Nikon?
I think I want to go to Sony. when Nikon went to mirrorless, they didn't have a dual slot. And as a professional wedding photographer, that's just like a huge no-no for me. I know they did just release a new model. I don't know the name of it that does have dual slot. But I just haven't seen enough like reviews and enough people who like it.
Yeah.
So I think I might go Sony. I'm not sure. But I mean, we're talking that's like almost a $12,000 investment for 2 bodies and all the lenses. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of just waiting. Waiting for 23 so we can get past, like all the reschedules and all that stuff. We'll get there.
So you brought up inclusivity a few times when we were talking about breweries and stuff like that. And you had originally, when we first were talking about like doing an episode with you, said that you wanted to talk a little bit about like helping photographers out with their websites to make them more accessible for people who are LGBTQ plus. And I was just wondering if you could tell us like, what are some common mistakes that you see people making with their websites?
Well, so the first one, and it's pretty obvious, but a lot of people overlook it, is using the words bride and groom. Or they'll be like, hey, brides, like, let me like help you. I want to be your best friend. Let's plan your wedding. And I'm like, not every wedding has a bride. Not every wedding has a groom. And if you really want to go like the extra mile, not every wedding has a she or a he, like it's very frustrating even now. Like, if you're in a lot of wedding referral groups or just like wedding networking groups and people post referrals and they'll post them and then like all like, like it's like from Nemo. mine. Like a million people are responding within seconds on this referral. But it's like, oh, hey, bride, like I'd love to, like, and they always use that word. And I'm like, why are we using the word bride? Why are we using the word groom? Or a lot of the times it's not even the word groom. It's just, hey, bride, like, or they'll post like, in some groups, like Mondays, you can like self-promote yourself. And they're like, hey, brides, like, let's plan your wedding. And I'm like, well, what about if the wedding doesn't have a bride? Why would you have that? Or I'll click on websites and on the homepage, it's, hey, brides, like, it's like not every wedding has a bride now. Not every wedding has a groom. Like, it needs to be like not such a, I don't want to say gender conforming, but just like a specific term, because it's going to turn a lot of people away and it's going to make them not feel welcome. Like I just booked a wedding a few weeks ago for 2 brides, and their biggest thing was like, we click on these wedding photographers' websites and they say they're inclusive, but we see nothing on there. And then we read all of the verbiage, and then we go to fill out the contact form, and the contact form is bride's name, groom's name. Like, why? It doesn't have to be on there. It could be spouse 1, spouse 2. It could be, like name 1, name 2. It doesn't have to be so specific, because one of them was like, well, I'm not a bride, like I'm not a groom. We're both brides. So that just automatically turned us off. Or there was nothing on their website that showed they were inclusive. They can say they are all they want, but there was nothing there. So we just clicked off of it. Or, and a lot of them do that out of fear because they get turned down so much.
Yeah.
They'll reach out and be like, hey, by the way, like, we're getting married. You want to see if you're available? My wife and I, or my future wife, or my future husband and I. And they'll be like, oh, no, sorry, we don't believe in that. We don't shoot that. So they're so afraid to even reach out to vendors if it's not shown on your website, that you're missing out on, I don't want to say just so much business, but you're missing out on just like so much community and humanity there, that it's hindering people and it's shying people away from you and your brand by using these words of brides and groom or the bridal party when you can just say, hey, it's a wedding party.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like trying to stay away from those type of things.
Mm-hmm.
That's all really great advice. Jen and I, my wife Jen and I, we had 2 different couples approach us this last year and say to us, do you shoot LGBTQ plus weddings? Because before we even go to like a next step, we need to know if that's a thing.
Yep.
And like one of them is literally somebody who shoots for us. Like, it was just like one of those moments where I was just like, oh my gosh, we are doing something very wrong if like somebody who literally shoots for us, who knows us very well, is asking us this question. And like we had to like take a deep look at like that kind of stuff. Another one of our clients from last year just straight up told us before we even signed with them, look, we already fired a photographer because when they sent over the contract, it said bride and groom, and we just don't want to deal with that. And so they're like, just so you know, we like you guys. Before you send over the contract, make sure you have, you know, no reference to gender at all in it. And so we had to like go through our contract and like double check everything just to make sure, because it was like we don't want to make anybody feel left out or feel bad. Like that's like the worst thing we could think of doing to somebody else. So, but it was also like this wake up call for us. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not as hard as everyone thinks it is, and a lot of people overthink it. It's just you can use spouse 1, spouse 2, or name 1, name 2. You don't have to use bride and groom. I did, I want to say 4 years ago, before I completely changed my contracts, I did send a contract out to a couple, and it was 2 brides, and they were like, oh, your contract says bride and groom. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't even think about it. And since then it's changed to spouse 1 and spouse 2. And like for the wedding or family formal, spouse 1's family, spouse 2's family, it's really super easy to change it. It's just so many people overthink it. Like in a lot of these wedding groups, like different posing groups and different prompt groups and stuff like that we use for like support, they'll be like, oh my gosh, I have my first same-sex shoot. Like I need help for ideas on posing or whatever. And it's like, why overthink it?
Yes.
They're the same as anybody else. Like I get like, okay, a lot of poses you put the guy behind and hugging the girl. So why not just take turns? It, you know, like so many people overthink it to where it's almost like hindering them.
Yes.
Almost, you know, like just don't put so much thought in it. Treat it like regular wedding. Like I can't wait for the day when instead of saying gay weddings or same-sex weddings, it's just a wedding. You know, like we don't have to put a title on it. And I've shot so many of them and I love it. And one of the biggest things in like all of my reviews that you'll see is people say like, we love how inclusive you are. We love how you made us feel safe and welcome, instead of that we were a token or we were something special or different. Like we felt like anybody else that you were shooting. And I was like, that is the best compliment that you could ever get. You want
and
to
it's all because you take them for a beer.
A lot of times, yes. Or whiskey, you know, whatever it is. Oh, where'd he go?
I derailed the conversation and Steve's just like, I'm out of here.
He's gone.
Peace out.
Yeah, that was something probably about a year ago we did in just our initial email that we send like after they inquire, like the kind of, I wouldn't say it's auto generated. I actually like make like copy and paste and send it to them. But it instead of saying like, hey Alexa, like we can't wait to talk to you and your future, you know, husband. You know, let us know when we can meet up. Steve's like, can you see me? No.
Can you hear me?
And so we switched the email to like, we can't wait to meet you and your like future spouse. And just like those little things to just, you know, make sure we weren't like,
making exclusive. Like I'm always like, oh, I can't wait to talk to the both of you, or you and your future spouse, because I go the extra mile and I don't want to assume gender identities. So I'm like, instead of saying like, oh, you and your, future wife or future husband, I'm always,
Right.
I can't wait, your future spouse or the both of you. And it's just much more like inclusive and welcoming. And it's a relief to hear that people, like they feel safe with that, because there's not much of that out there. I mean, still, I'll click on. I mean, you get a little nosy on wedding referral websites or on referral threads. You're like, what do you do? And then the first thing you see is brides or brides and grooms, and I'm like,
and I'm guilty of this 100%. Like we haven't updated our website in probably 9-10 years.
Oh my God.
And yeah, it's bad. Like,
that.
I mean, we update our blog, every time we shoot a wedding, the blog gets updated.
SEO and stuff. You haven't updated that in that long?
I'm top page of Google. I mean, I'm not in Detroit. I'm not competing with that level of big dogs.
Okay.
but yeah, we haven't updated to the point where my assistant, so it's like always on the winter project list, like update the website. Yeah. And every winter that we think we're going to be dead, it's like we're super busy and it never gets updated. So hopefully this month, website, like at least the portfolio portion of the website gets changed, because we don't even edit like the way our like main photos look on our website. I mean, not that they're like crazy off, but
I'm like redoing my website every like 3 to 4 weeks.
How?
Yeah, it's like you have 4 children. I don't know where you find time for such things.
I don't sleep a lot.
I have a 5-month-old. I don't sleep at all.
Oh, trust me, I get that. My youngest will be 2 on April 1st, so we're still going through that. It's not fun.
Our 3-year-old is having a sleep regression right now, where he's getting up like every 3 hours.
Yeah, Freya's doing that too. I'm like, dude, just go to sleep.
And we've combined the 5-month-old and the 3-year-old. They're in the same room. And so like they each wake each other up, and it's like this awesome game of Russian roulette where I just want to like,
yeah, that's a mistake. No, you should not do that.
It's the best. It's the best. So how did you get like into this like whole inclusivity, other than just being like a decent human being that cares about others?
Other than just being a decent human being who cares about others, I have a lot of friends and family that are part of the LGBTQ plus community. And I grew up in a very conservative Christian home. And I was raised to believe one thing. And then as I grew up, I was like, why is this wrong? This should not be wrong. And I started meeting a lot of LGBTQ plus people, and I started hearing their stories and relating to them. And I was like, no, this is not okay. Like, you guys should be able to marry and love and celebrate it. So as I became a photographer, that was kind of like one of my missions and goals, was to create, and I hate using the word safe space because it's like this trigger thing or like a buzzword, but creating a place where they could come in and they didn't have to hide who they were. A lot of my couples still are like, I'll even ask them, like, are you okay with PDA and photos? Like, are you okay with kissing one another? Are you okay with holding hands? Just making sure that they're comfortable with displaying those types of things, because a lot of them still are conscious about it. So I just wanted to make it feel like, I don't, like, if someone were to tell me like, hey, I have to tell you something, like I'm gay, and I would be like, then I failed as a human. You shouldn't have to make it this big exclamation You should just be like, this is my partner, or this is my wife, this is my husband, this is who I'm with. And I'm like, I just want to make it so it's like that. And so I have specifically went out of my way to make sure on my website that I've shot so many weddings for free, like for second shooting and as a main shooter, to make sure that I cover every religion, every sexual orientation, every race, everything, because I fully wholeheartedly believe that if someone is on your website for more than 30 seconds and doesn't see someone that they relate to or see themselves, then you're failing. Like you're missing the mark. And so I purposely will go out of my way to make sure, like almost a little over the top, to make sure that everyone is represented. Everybody feels welcome. Everybody feels safe and that they can relax when they're around me. And that's like what I've made my mission.
That's why I keep telling my wife we have to do a styled wedding in Hawaii, because I feel like that's why we're not getting Hawaiian weddings, because they come to our website and they don't see it. And we're falling short on the Hawaiians feeling like we are relatable.
Just make friends. I shoot close to 50% of my weddings are destination weddings.
Jeez.
I know people everywhere. And
is that because people in Michigan are like, I don't know if I really want to get married here?
Yeah, yes and no. But a lot of people from Michigan have family in other places. And they're like, hey, they're getting married. We want you to shoot the wedding. Nobody else can do it but you. And I'm like, cool. Okay, let's do this.
So I would say 50% of our weddings are people who are from here but have moved elsewhere, have big boy and girl jobs in California, New York, wherever, Seattle. Yeah. And then they're like, whoa, it's super expensive to get married here. We're coming back to Indiana where it cost us like $600 to rent somewhere to get married. And
I have a few of those. I've got one on the 24th of April, and they are coming back from San Diego to get married in Michigan. I'm like, why? Can't we just?
Planes go both ways. Planes go both ways.
Right? Like, can I just go there, please? But yeah, they're coming here. Which I love shooting in Detroit. My city is amazing. It's beautiful. I wouldn't have it tattooed on my arm if it wasn't. Like, I just want to like the beaches, please.
Now, the tattoo on your arm, do you have to go back in to get it updated every time they put a new building up?
No, this is the original, the OG skyline. This won't be messed with.
The OG.
The OG skyline. Yeah. And this is actually the view from Canada, by the way.
Oh, cool.
Oh, so it's not even an American view.
So
it's looking at our beautiful country and our beautiful city.
Wow.
Not from it, looking over.
Mm-hmm. So, Jess, if it's cool with you, we're going to do some questions from like some random people on Facebook and stuff. And if you're ready for that, and Dustin, are you ready?
I was born ready for it, Steven.
You were born ready. Cool.
Let's do some Q&A.
But Steve...
the first question comes from Steven from Dustin and I's very own Facebook group. And Steven says, hey, Jess, I heard earlier in this podcast that we were recording, you said spouse 1 and spouse 2. Could we swap that out for passionate lover 1 and passionate lover 2?
I mean, you could, but I don't know how it would look holding up in court.
I'd like to see that where they're like fighting to get their deposit back, and you're sitting there in small claims court, and they're like, "I'd like to call to the stand, passionate lover 1. Sorry, no, Joe, you're passionate lover 2. Steve, I'm gonna need you up there." And then they start fighting because they're like, I never said you're a passionate lover. I said I'm the passionate lover, and this just isn't going to fly. I would say, if anything, you're an average lover.
Right.
And it just starts into this whole thing.
And the judge just being like, just leave.
Just
done.
take your $500.
So you're insinuating,
retainer.
Dustin,
Just
that the
take it.
contract is what broke them up.
All because of this context that Steve from our Facebook group insinuates you should change your contract.
Some random
to.
Steve.
Random
Yeah.
Steve. Definitely spelled PH, not V.
I agree
Definitely.
with that.
But
Yeah, I wouldn't go that longer. Any judge would see that and laugh.
see, I would love. See, that's the kind of thing like I would love to do for my contract, but being in a conservative Midwest city like my own, like there's several parents who would see that because, God forbid, brides and grooms, fill out their own contracts. Parents would be like, passionate lover 1. Excuse me, my kids are not no passionate lovers. Next photographer.
You'd be like, why are they getting married then? I mean, weren't they the product of passionate love making?
See, I have separate contracts for parents who are paying for the wedding and then brides and grooms that are hiring me. So,
well, aren't you just super professional?
I minored in law, so yeah, I try.
Pre-med, minor in law school dropout.
Yeah, I'm a college dropout turned wedding photographer.
6-figure wedding photographer, I hear.
I am.
Boom.
I'm proud of it.
I didn't actually hear that. I just totally made that up. And
No. I am. Even during the pandemic. Still.
Wait, let's see if we can work that magic again. 7-figure wedding photographer, I hear.
That is going to be in the next few years.
Boom.
Yeah, that's what I like to
I'm
hear.
just going to manifest that and put that out. I will be.
Nice.
So Joe from a random Facebook group asked, I was hired to shoot an elopement in Michigan and I couldn't find the location on Google Maps. When I asked someone from Michigan where it was, they held up their right hand and pointed to their thumb. What does this mean?
Probably Port Huron. So from Michigan, we have, our state. And so the most popular city is Port Huron. Or it's like Port Sanilac. Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know any
Because
of this.
it's shaped like a mitten, Dustin.
No,
When
I know
people-
that. I didn't know what the most popular cities were.
Well, no, like I mean, there's a lot of cities in the thumb, but like that's like the most popular one that's got like the beaches and
Do you
stuff
get
like
like
that.
detailed? Are you talking more like the nail? Or are you like kind of more down by the knuckle?
Absolutely. So where I'm from, I'm here up by this knuckle. I was born down
It's like
here.
an hour south of Mackinac.
So I was born in Lapeer, grew up, graduated from Millington. My family moved up to Onaway, which is up here, and it's about 45 minutes south of the bridge. We have the cool state where we can use our hand.
Yeah, here
Okay.
we take our sock off and we hold it up. And then we're like, hey, so you're trying to go down by the toes. And if you go past the toes and fall out of the sock, you're in Kentucky.
Oh.
And then you can marry your sister or
And who
your
wants to-
cousin, or I'm not sure how it goes down there. And there go
Wow.
all of our
Wow,
listeners
Dustin.
from Kentucky.
Kentucky.
We didn't have any. It's fine. That state's a dead zone for us. We have all the
It's a
other
dead zone for
states.
everybody.
Kentucky just hates
All the
us so
Louisville
much.
listeners go over the river to listen to our podcast.
Amber from a random Facebook group asked, I spent the last 5 years establishing my brand as an exclusive luxury brand. Yesterday, someone said that they weren't going to be hiring me because I was too expensive and also not inclusive enough. Does this mean my brand power is strong, or does it mean that I'm an asshole?
A little bit of both. If you don't have enough inclusivity in your portfolio, then what's the point? But I mean, the market speaks your worth. So if you're too expensive, then you're not showing enough luxury things. Your portfolio is not luxury enough for someone with a higher budget to hire you. I mean, that's really what it is. Whether if it's second shooting a lot for really cheap or free for really high-end luxury weddings with the exchange to be able to use that in your portfolio, which I still, after 11 years, I still do that. If someone posts like, hey, I have a wedding at this venue, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like #1 in Michigan, I want to shoot there. Or even I'm traveling to New Orleans and I'm shooting a wedding for like literally travel, second shooting a wedding, because I want to build in that market. You have to like sacrifice a little bit. So if your portfolio is not luxury enough, then a lot of people are going to say, yeah, you're too expensive. Because if your work does not reflect your pricing, then you're just being an asshole. And if you don't have
maybe her work was just all assholes,
right? And if you don't have inclusivity, and inclusivity isn't just LGBTQ plus community, that's people of color, that's different races, that's plus size people, that's people with extreme height differences. If you don't have that, then yeah, you're charging far too much for a little bit of what your portfolio shows. So yeah, if you don't have that, then
does exclusivity also cater to like the uber rich?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a whole different class.
Gotcha.
A whole different area.
Maybe it's just like all of her photos are taken on private jets. Like the wedding happened on a private jet in international airspace.
I mean, it could be. It could be.
Every single
But if I go to your website and all I see are white hetero couples that are size 2 in a beautiful mountainscape or beach setting and no other diversity, I'm going to leave. Sorry.
But that's what I paid thousands of dollars to do styled shoots so that I could have.
I was going to say,
and have the same thing that 50 other photographers have.
If you don't want to see beach and mountainscapes,
I couldn't get through that sentence without laughing.
Check
Sorry.
out Indiana-based photographers.
Right? I mean, I'm in Michigan and I still got that.
You're like, I love that cornfield. It's such a good cornfield wedding photo.
Right? But like when I was planning my own wedding for a real life example, I had my dream wedding photography team that I was going to fork out $8,200 for. Like I wanted them. I was going to fly them in from New York to do my wedding, and we got married on Devil's Night, which if you're not from the West, it's the night before. I'm not going to say their names. Because there's a huge drama thing that happened last year with them. But anyways, I was going to fly them in from New York, and my husband and I were getting married on Devil's Night. If you're not from the Midwest, it's the night before Halloween. I was wearing a black dress. My husband was wearing all black. Our guests were wearing all white. We were going to get married in this abandoned church in Detroit, blah, blah, blah. And they said, oh, no, we're good. That's not our style. And I was like,
what?
I'm paying you a fortune and you don't want to take me? Like, okay, whatever. Like, that's cool. It wasn't luxury enough for them. Cool.
Could have called Steven or I. We would have been like, $8,200. I don't care what you're wearing. I am there.
Right. But like people they get turned down all the time. So imagine like being so in love with someone who just happens to be the same sex as you are, and you inquire with your dream people and you're willing to pay whatever price. And they're like, no, not our thing. Sorry. And
I would love to meet the photographers who are turning all these people away. Like, geez.
They got roasted last year. And
I can't imagine being in the position where I have so much work, I'm turning people away because it has nothing to do with whether or not I'm booked. Like, it's just, oh, no, I don't want to do this. Never mind.
I'll message you their names because I'm sure you've heard of them and the drama that happened with them.
I'm sure we might have talked about them on this podcast.
I'm sure. Might start with an H.
It might indeed.
Yep. That would be them. So yeah, they told me no, they would not shoot my wedding because I was not their style.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
We promised that we weren't going to put Sam Hurd on blast anymore on this podcast. I'm joking. He's not from New York. I know.
Oh.
Sorry.
Well, they no longer live in New
Miranda.
York. They had to go somewhere else, back to their hometowns.
Baltimore.
Orlando.
Miranda from a random Facebook group says, I was emailing a polyamorous throuple about a shoot and couldn't think of what to say in place of you guys. So I wrote Cowgirls and Space Guy as a stand-in and meant to change it before sending once I thought of something better. I forgot to change it. It's been 3 days since and no response. They've been replying almost immediately prior to this. What do I do?
I think you have to send them a photo of you dressed as
It's a space cowboy.
Space Cowboy.
I have shot a poly wedding before. But that's terrible. To save yourself from that, yes, you would have to do like one of those like laser background 90s school photo shoot.
Just thought I'd check in.
Like, hey, by the way, this is my thing. You better have like one of those like ride-on little
just chaps in an astronaut helmet.
But with like the broomstick, like felt-headed horses.
Yes. With a rocket backpack.
That's the only way to redeem yourself from that and be like, this is my thing.
And you have to live that life for the entire time you're with them.
That's terrible. When I shot my poly group, it was like, hey, you guys, like that was just how it was. How do you want to be addressed? And they said, you guys.
It's good to know that you guys can be used kind of universally.
Yeah, I think it's a Midwest thing because out in California, they use like dude, it's just like a gender neutral thing. And here in the Midwest, like I'm like, hey, you guys, what's up? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just a me thing, but I always ask people.
I
like,
do that.
Right? Like I ask them, how do you prefer to be like addressed? And they'll tell me. Even if it's two brides, I'm like, hey, you guys, or I'll correct myself sometimes, be like, hey, ladies, but most of the time it's just like, hey, guys, what's up?
See, I got afraid of saying you guys to people. So I just started saying y'all to everybody.
Yeah.
It's like I'm just going to get real colloquial with it.
Don't say y'all.
Howdy, y'all. It's me, Steve, here to shoot your wedding.
It's me, Steve. I just got down and getting the eggs from the chicken hen. Just wanted to check on y'all. See if you're still planning out y'all wedding.
You said that like it's a joke, but I've shot multiple weddings with chickens at them.
Are we going to have the barn raising after the wedding?
Who's going to be dancing in the pig pen?
God, no. We don't say y'all here. I mean, you guys are a little bit more south than I am, but we don't say y'all up here. It might
It's pity.
Be more like acceptable down there, but not here.
I don't think it's acceptable anywhere.
I don't think it is
Or
either.
at least it shouldn't be. There went all our southern listeners.
Wow. It's okay. We just lost Kentucky again.
It's okay. My in-laws are from Knoxville, so like I get the y'all thing, but like it's just not a northern Midwest thing. Is that what we're called?
You're called the hand, the mitten.
We're the mitten. Yeah, I know.
The mitten sits on top of the sock.
Here, we'll just show this one. This one's decorated. This one can be prettier.
We got one more question. This one comes from Charles from a random Facebook group. He says he's moving to Detroit next year. He's moved almost every year or every other year for the past amount of year for a long time now. When he gets to the new city, he usually does a styled shoot that includes sports apparel for that city's favorite sports team. He doesn't know why, but it seems to work for him. With Detroit, he can't tell if he should do Pistons or the Red Wings, and maybe he's thinking he's done this too much and he should just switch to something like General Motors themed styled shoot. He's losing his mind. Can you please help, Jess?
Okay, so the Pistons are nothing for Detroit. Like, forget about the Pistons. No one cares about them. Like,
Love it.
I love how they like
Wow.
just demolished the Palace to move them down to the LCA, which is the Little Caesars Arena, but like no one calls it that here. Just forget about them. Like, whatever. The Red Wings.
Little Caesars Arena.
Yeah, it's literally the Little Caesars Arena, and we just all call it the LCA because who the hell wants to call it Little Caesars Arena? No. So
I mean,
Pizza.
no.
how quickly has Detroit gone to just not caring about the Pistons? Like, I worked in Detroit when they won the NBA championship back in, what was it, like 2003, 2004?
1960s.
And like,
Yeah, right.
like there were like cars flipped over and burned out. Like, it was,
This is the only time they
I don't want to say awesome, but it was awesome.
No. The Pistons, forget about the Pistons. Do the Red Wings. It really sucks that they took down the Joe Louis Arena, which was like historically named and really cool to build the LCA. To bring the Pistons, so like all the Detroit teams are in Detroit. The Red Wings, obviously, we're hockey town. We've done pretty bad the last 7-8 years. But
you guys are still passionate about them.
We are. There's a few bars I'm not allowed in Chicago. When I walk in, they immediately throw me out. Because
I like this. Did you pick some fights with some Blackhawks fans?
When I was there, I'm going to say 3 years ago, someone was like, "Oh, you want a Blackhawks jersey?" I was like, "Sure, I need good fire starter material." And they were like, "Go Detroit." And I was like, "Yeah, that's what I thought." Yeah, I'm real bad. I grew up playing hockey. Like, I'm from Michigan. Like, I got a huge scar under my chin. My front teeth are fake. Like, it's in our blood. We're close to Canada. This is who we are. But like, no, the Pistons, forget about the Pistons.
I've never heard so much Pistons hate. Wow.
It's the Wings,
Wow.
it's the Tigers. I mean, the Lions, we can kind of acknowledge them, but no.
Wow. I was born in Kalamazoo, raised like as a all Michigan fan by my dad. We moved to Indiana when I was like 3 years old, but like all we ever did was watch like Michigan sports. And I never, for the life of me, would have guessed Pistons.
Didn't exist.
Not a thing. Like,
They can't give
I grew up
away
idolizing
tickets
like
on the
Isaiah
radio.
Thomas. So
They cannot give away tickets on the radio to the Pistons. Like, they haven't been a thing in decades. It's the Wings.
not since
It's the Tigers.
they fought Ron Artest and the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, I don't know.
When we
I
were
don't
in
even
college,
follow
Dustin.
basketball.
The good old days.
No, it's the Wings and it's the Tigers. The Lions, everybody knows the Lions because we're kind of like the laughing stock because of them. But
I would say so.
yeah, I mean, we got heart and we got spirit. You got to give us that. But it's the Tigers and the Wings. That's who.
See, I don't know anything about the Tigers, but like huge Barry Sanders fan growing up, huge Isaiah Thomas fan growing up. Like, wow. My mind is blown.
I'm
right
a
now.
huge Tigers fan. I go to opening day almost every year. That's like an actual holiday in Detroit. And a lot of companies will give you the day off for opening day. Obviously, last year and this year, it's not a thing. And it's kind of heartbreaking. But opening day for the Tigers here is like a holiday. It's a big celebration.
Must be nice to live somewhere with
love it. I
professional
love it.
sports.
It is. I love it. See my shirt, Detroit City till I die. Yeah, we put on for our city. We love the Tigers, the Wings. Not so much the Pistons and the Lions. But,
At least you have options.
we do have options.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have semi-pro baseball.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Are you talking about Fort Wayne now?
Semi-pro basketball with
Oh.
terrible names.
Ah.
The Mad Ants. Come on.
The Mad Ants? Are you serious?
Yeah. Yeah.
Their most successful brewery from Fort Wayne is Mad Anthony's. Are they named after the brewery?
No, the mascot's literally an ant.
Oh my God.
Wow.
But I do think there is a
That's
correlation between Mad Anthony and the Mad Ants, and that's like a thing.
There's like that movie from the Flint, Michigan semi-pro basketball team, the Tropic Thunders.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing tropical about Detroit or Michigan at all.
Our baseball team's called the Tin Caps. And the mascot's like Johnny Appleseed, if you know who Johnny Appleseed is.
But that has nothing to do with tin caps.
He wore a pot on his head, apparently.
Oh.
So
I
we're
thought tin caps
Made
were
of tin?
beer bottle tops.
yeah. So he's just Johnny the Tin Caps is the mascot, and it's like a big guy with a pot on his head.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Learning so much about Fort Wayne right now that I wish I didn't know.
Right?
But we are getting a semi-pro soccer team, or we have one. I don't.
Okay. Let's stop just trailing off about Fort Wayne's
Yeah, let's stop there.
terrible sports.
Horrible.
Jess, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and talking with us and listening to Dustin just trail on and on and on about the Fort Wayne sports teams. If people who are listening want to find more of your stuff online, how can they find you?
I am girlwiththetattoos.com, or on Instagram, I am 2_ girl with the tattoos, 2_. And that's because someone stole my name and hacked my Instagram account. So there's 2_.
What?
Yeah, that was a whole fun thing. But yeah, girlwiththetattoos.com. That is me on Facebook, Girl with the Tattoos as well. Or you can reach out and email me at Jess, JESS, at girlwiththetattoos.com. And I'm more than willing to help anyone go over their website, help them walk through like making it more inclusive, making the language more welcoming, and more like of a safe space for the LGBTQ plus community.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jess, and have a great night.
You too. Thank you guys so much for having me on here.
It's been awesome.
Wedding Photo Hangover was edited this week by Steven Van Elk.